Well, the Ramones are one of the most iconic punk rock and pop punk bands of all time. And now there's a book that you can learn all about them.
Yes, author and Ramones super fan, and just so happens to be my next door neighbor, Carl Caffarelli, joins us live in studio to discuss his new book, Gabba Gabba Hey, a conversation with the Ramones, which highlights their cultural and musical legacy. Carl, what a surprise. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, if I'm your neighbor, that means if I'm a super fan, that means that you live next door to the Fortress of Solitude. That's way cooler than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
It certainly doesn't look like a fortress, but
yeah, well, you know, now you're talking Superman, and Fortress of Solitude is right up my alley here.
Right.
So, the Ramones.
Yes.
How did you're a super fan? Tell us a little bit about how you became a super fan of the Ramones.
I was 17 in 1977, senior at North Syracuse High School, spring of my senior year. I love music. Listened to the radio literally every day. Bought records. Even then, I was buying records at the flea market, at the record stores. Liked a lot of the stuff that was going on contemporary. I liked Kiss. I liked Boston, Fleetwood Mac, all of that. But I really liked the music of the 1960s better. And I wanted something to be as exciting to me as the British invasion, the Beatles, the Animals, the Kinks, all of that. Tabloid magazine called Phonograph Record Magazine was distributed free. It's a national magazine, but WOUR-FM and Utica sponsored giveaways at Gerber Music. You just go when you show up. And Phonograph Record Magazine's writers talked about this thing called punk rock. And I was just, before I'd heard any of it, I was just fascinated by this idea of something that different, that primal. Got to college in Brockport in the fall of '77, and I bought the Sheen as a Punk Rocker 45. Never have you heard it. The single's a little bit less than 3 minutes long, and the first time I played it, I literally played it for about a half hour straight. I could not believe how great it was, that it had that connection to the primal music of the 60s, faster, louder, but still very much pop music, very catchy, very Beach Boys-like, but of the moment and leaning forward the way I was just so excited. I became a fan in that instant.
All right, so it's one thing to be a super fan, it's another thing to decide to write a book. So what inspired you to put pen to paper, so to speak? And,
even before I became a Ramones fan, I knew, when I was 13, I knew I wanted to be a writer. Case closed, that's what I was going to be. Whatever else I did for a living, I was going to be a writer. And I became a freelance writer starting in 1984. I do a daily blog because I have no common sense. I commit to doing a blog every day. And I freelance wrote for a while, primarily for a magazine called Goldmine, which is a record collector's magazine. I was with Goldmine from 1986 to 2006 on a freelance basis. And in 1994, Goldmine was celebrating its 20th anniversary. The Ramones were also celebrating their 20th anniversary, Lightbulb. So I talked to Goldmine's editor, Jeff Tamarkin, at the time. I said, we need to do a cover feature on the Ramones. We have to do a cover feature on the Ramones. He agreed, and he set up with their publicist, Ida Langsam, phone interviews with the then current members of the band, singer Joey Ramone, guitarist Johnny Ramone, drummer Marky Ramone, and bassist CJ Ramone, who had just joined the band a few years ago. And we did extensive phone interviews that were published in the magazine. Talked with Joey on the phone for about 2.5 hours. Johnny for about an hour and a half, and a little bit less for Marky, and a lot less for CJ, who was new to the band but still had his perspective to share. It was published in a magazine with The Simpsons on the cover, at my request, from when the Ramones were on The Simpsons. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when the Ramones were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cited the magazine as the essential reading for the Ramones. So it was very much...
What is it about the Ramones that have made them such pop culture icons and still so relevant in today's culture?
I think the first word that comes to my mind isn't the word you'd expect when you think of the Ramones, and that's purity. There's a specific purity to their best work, especially in the first 4 albums, but I think throughout their career. They did, what, 14 albums, 4 live albums, a bunch of singles, but there's a purity to their approach to pop music. They're very much children of AM Top 40. When AM Top 40 radio was great. That's where we heard all that stuff, from Del Shannon to Motown to Stax to Badfinger to Slade to Alice Cooper. All that great stuff informed the young Ramones to be. And that influence shows up in their best work. In Blitzkrieg Bop, which you go to a baseball game, you're going to hear that, hey, ho, let's go. That's their integration into the greater pop culture now. And I think it goes back to the primal purity of their sound, that it's pop music, but it's really insistent pop music that leans forward.
Quickly, how about the book release and the signing that you got? We got about 20 seconds or so.
Okay. This Saturday, May 13th, at the 443 Social Club and Lounge, we're having a really loud book release party with music from Perilous and 145. This is Rock and Roll Radio co-host Dana Bond and I will be co-hosting as the MCs. I will probably read from a passage from the book or two, because no one's going to try to stop me. I have an in-store next Thursday, May 18th, at Parthenon Books on Salina Street, and then on Saturday, May 20th, at Barnes & Noble in DeWitt. All
right, so there you go. Again, the 443 Social Club and Lounge on Burnett Ave on May 13th from 7 to 9. Cost is $15 and includes a $15 minimum food or drink purchase. You can learn more at 443socialclub.com. And as we mentioned, the book signing at Parthenon Books on Salina Street on May 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. Admission to that is free.
Next time we mow the lawn, we can, next to each other, we can jam out to the Ramones.
Hey ho, let's go.
There we go.
Thank you.